So my name is Rukmini, and I am Gauravani's mother. So that's what you need to know about me. And I thought it'd be interesting. You're gonna pass out.
Yeah, we'll serve you.
Great. Okay. I was thinking it would be interesting to talk about prayer in the kind of current context of what's going on right now in the world. And I wanted to begin with, there's a beautiful prayer offered in the mood of compassion by a little boy saint who's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. He's a whole long story about him. Prahlad Maharaj, I don't know if you've heard of him. Little boy saint from Srimad Bhagavatam, or Bhagavad Purana. So here's a prayer that he speaks that I love. He goes, I'll say it in Sanskrit, and then maybe I should say it in English. I'll say it in English first. May the entire universe, what I love about it is, it's sort of a prayer for everyone. So, yeah, I really like it. Okay. May the entire universe be blessed with peace and good hope. May everyone driven by envy and enmity become pacified and reconciled. May all living beings develop abiding concern for the welfare of others. May our own hearts and minds be filled with purity and serenity. And may all these blessings flow naturally from this supreme benediction. May our attention become spontaneously absorbed in the rapture of love unto the transcendent Lord. Ooh. You like it? I love it. Pretty good for a little 7-year-old. I guess back in those days, little 7-year-olds knew more than we do. But I'll say it in Sanskrit, because the Sanskrit has like a power to it. So, swasya stu visvasya kalo prasidatam danyam tu bhutani shivam mitodiya manascha badram bhajata radhoksaje aveshato no matirapya hoituki.
That's that prayer? John Eddie Harrison sings that song.
She
in
sings
one of
that.
Her, I have no idea.
It's
That's
beautiful.
Awesome.
It's really a beautiful. I love it. Yeah. So I thought I'd start with a guided meditation. We were just kind of doing a meditation, but here's another one. So I'm going to turn on. This is a tambura. Looks like a phone. It's actually a really tiny tambura. So please close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. And listen. And breathe in receptivity. And breathe out distraction, worry. And breathe in centering and understanding, listening. And breathe out everything that's unwanted from your heart. And breathe in heart opening and listening. And breathe out negativity. And please visualize ocean waves coming in, one and then another, incessant waves of this age of Kali, this age of quarrel, dissension, waves coming in, one after another, waves of disagreement, polarity over small and large issues, waves coming in, breaking over our heads, one after another, after another, after another. Still my intention my outreach, my actions, my aspirations can be like eddies in the water moving in the other direction. Hope is an eddy in the other direction. Hope thrives in the midst of hopelessness. Hopelessness is not the opposite of hope. Despair is the opposite of hope. In the midst of hopelessness, hope thrives. It does not give in to despair. Although the situation seems hopeless, there is always room for surprise, like an eddy in the other direction. Despair assigns reality a deadline. Hope knows that there are no deadlines for reality. The waves keep coming. The eddies keep moving in the other direction. There are no deadlines for reality. Hope, like an eddy in the other direction, knows that there are no deadlines for reality. That is why hope keeps coming. Hope, like an eddy in the other direction, thrives in the midst of an ocean of hopelessness. Consider hope. Consider moving in the other direction. Take another deep breath. And you can rub your hands together and then put them on your eyes. And then open your eyes. Thank you very much. How are you feeling? Good?
Hungry. It's like, I just want to let you say the exact right thing that I needed to hear today.
Really?
Yeah, because I felt so just overcome by
I know.
despair today.
People are
specifically.
feeling it, yeah. Yeah, I was, people are feeling some despair, some dread, worry over the future, yeah?
Mhm.
So here's something that I think is beautiful. This is sort of a riff on the Jewish Talmud. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now. Love mercy now. Walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it.
That's very Jewish.
Very Jewish. You from a Jewish tradition?
No, I have some very close friends who are, and it just reminds me of things they say. I don't know.
Yeah, I love it. You know, I love that idea that kind of on my last day in this world, the inbox is going to be full. So I can't complete the work, but still I try, you know, each day. Yeah. So what is prayer on the path of Bhakti? It's an opening of the heart. It's an offering of the heart. And this is Bhakti Yoga DC, right? So what is Bhakti anyway? So Bhakti is defined as a loving responsiveness. I really love that. A loving responsiveness. So someone is listening inside my heart, the super friend, the beloved who lives inside my heart is listening. And I think of prayer as a cry of the heart, an outpouring of the heart, and an opening of the heart. So when I think about prayer, I think it's not just a lip service. It's it doesn't come from a place of complacency, you know what I mean? Or entitlement, which is, I think, where I know I myself as an American can so often just live, you know, this, you know. And so I was thinking, Jesus said, I don't know if you know this one, but he said, be hot or be cold, but if you are lukewarm, I spit you out. Have you heard that before? So I feel a lot of times I'm pretty lukewarm, you know. Like, everything's copacetic, you know. I'm okay. But it seems like when there's some urgency, some ardent desire, then maybe that kind of shifts things a little bit. So maybe we're being prompted to go to a place of prayer. Maybe that's part of our problem, that we're just so, you know, it's okay. You know, I'm okay, and you know, life is okay. And I was thinking of this quote from Mother Teresa, where she says that she's talking about poverty, and she was saying the poverty in the Western countries is like a poverty of the heart, a poverty of the spirit. And she was saying it's more difficult to remove than a poverty of the belly that she was, you know, experiencing and helping people with the poverty she was seeing in Calcutta in India. She was saying it's harder to remove that poverty of the spirit, you know. So, but you know, we try. I was thinking, you know, so maybe I'm lukewarm most of the time. So where do I begin? If I'm not really ardent, if my heart's not really on fire. So we begin at the beginning, you know. We begin from where we are, and that's an authentic place to begin, from the beginning where we are. So I wanted to ask you guys, do you ever feel like sometimes like conflict or rejection or trauma sometimes becomes an impetus to going deeper in your heart, in prayer, or in calling out? What do you think? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah? You've
Yeah.
experienced that? Like
mean,
when everything's all copacetic, maybe I'm just so lukewarm. What else? I was saying that Jesus Christ said once, be hot or be cold, but if you are lukewarm, I spit you out. So I was thinking that a lot of times I'm pretty lukewarm. And why? We're kind of just going over this. Maybe we're just so complacent in Western society. I mean, could be all parts of the world, but complacent or entitled, you know, got everything copacetic, you know. But yeah, so I was mentioning that Mother Teresa said once that the poverty in the Western countries is more difficult to remove than the poverty of the belly that she was seeing in Calcutta. Yeah, because it's a poverty of the heart. She was saying a poverty of the spirit. And so that's very interesting. So I feel that, you know. So then I was just asking a question when you guys walked in. Do you ever feel like conflict or rejection or trauma sometimes is an impetus to going deeper and calling out?
We were just talking about that.
What were you talking about? What were you saying?
What should I share?
We had a collective primal scream in the car on the way here.
The two of you?
No.
The three of you. A collective primal scream.
Yeah, my downstairs neighbors. So, yeah.
So your downstairs neighbor is causing you to, or is an impetus to
Pray.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And before that happened, right before it happened, me and her, when she has a sunroom in her house, it's really beautiful, and we were talking about like that theme. It was like, you know, using every, you know, like the darkness in our that we experience. It can be like, what were you saying? It was like, I mean, it's definitely like, you know, using that to like the expansion, contraction, and like I'm just carving it from the words.
Like, yeah, we were talking about how we visit these like dark, shadowy places within ourselves, and like that's this contraction point. But that's where we go to like liberate the light and like the most beautiful gifts, you know. So we're like there on a mission, you know, and then we come out of it and we're like more light and more beautiful, and we know ourselves more deeply. And
So
we're more
sometimes
connected to
almost like
spirit.
that contraction was like came like a gift.
Yeah.
And I guess like,
Mm.
wow, very beautiful. What else? Anybody else have thoughts on this? Yes. Well, I was just asking whether you feel like, because we're talking about this kind of lukewarmness and entitled complacency, and like kind of puts me in a place where I can't really call out from my heart. So do you ever feel like rejection or trauma or some kind of something, pain, conflict, can be actually an impetus to going deeper?
I think it absolutely does. I think pain breeds a sort of desperation in the soul.
Wow.
I've experienced a lot of that myself. And you cry out for whatever's there. And it's always God. God's always there. I just didn't know that.
Well, you know, you
so.
use the word desperation. I was thinking desperation is really the place that authentic prayer comes from. It's not when we're like all, you know, happy, row, row, row your boat, right? You know, but desperation is the place of authentic.
You pray when you're drowning, and then you surrender and go downstream.
Yeah, and then we forget, right?
And if you're lucky, you wake up on the bank of the river.
And then when I'm in the like place of light, I like so wish that I could as authentically call out and connect with divinity.
Yeah.
That's when I was in like a dark place of despair. you
Yeah,
know?
but then at the same time, as like it's so natural for us living beings to just try to avoid any kind of suffering or pain. You know, we just like we won't go there. But yet that very thing is what brings us to a deeper place. It's so interesting, isn't it?
I like how you say a deeper place, because sometimes I feel like when people talk about the concept, they say like love and suffering, and happiness and suffering are like yin and yang and are. But I feel like that makes us feel like we can't create like happiness from more happiness, and it's like we have to suffer to be happy, you know. But I think it's like there's some sort of deeper like, you know, it's within the heart, you know, how like we can create such deep like compassion from suffering.
Yeah.
Just hilarious. You hadn't experienced one, but you had experienced the other. You didn't know there was any distinction.
I was thinking when you said that it's almost as though, like they say that gratitude is the mother of all emotions. Like if we could kind of dwell in a, you know, like a foundational grateful place, that we wouldn't vacillate between that, you know, that kind of pain of rejection and then waking up that, oh, I've been asleep, I'm sleepwalking through my life, you know, kind of thing.
I want to add to that, like, happiness building on happiness and like that depth question or like comment, because I think that like along with going to those like harder places, like we're able to reach a deeper level of happiness. It's not that we didn't know happiness before, but it's like there's more happiness available to us.
The scale shifts once you experience it.
Beautiful.
What'd you say?
The scale shifts.
Yeah.
And would
Yeah.
you say that deeper level of happiness maybe has a different name? Maybe it's joy?
No. I think that you can experience joy at different depths. And I think you can experience happiness at different depths. And sometimes when you're used to only experiencing maybe like happiness in black and white, right? You think that that's all there is. So that's when I think that we go to like quick fixes and like escapism, right? Because we're like, oh, well, this is what happiness feels like. So I'm going to just like, this is my standard, right? But then you travel to the dark places, you liberate more of yourself, right? From that place. So you have more of yourself that's available for happiness. And so you reach this like level of color in your happiness, and you're like, wow, I didn't think that happiness could be anything other than black and white, you know?
So you're talking about a happiness that's not dependent on something external. Yeah.
Exactly.
A happiness that's kind of bubbling up from. Yeah, I was reminded when some of you were speaking that there's this Franciscan teacher. I don't know if any of you have read any of his stuff, but his name is Richard Rohr, Father Richard Rohr. And he has this really beautiful thing that he says that, I mean, he's a Catholic, you know, but he says that we all come into this world with a God-sized hole in our hearts. And we're just always trying to fill it up with, with drugs or alcohol or films or this or that or relationship, But it's this God-sized hole that we just can't fill up with external stuff. It's a really beautiful thought. So
To speak to what you said about the depth of
I also think,
never mind. I already said that.
Say it. Say what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I feel like experiencing the different depths of pain sort of, when you come back to that place of being happy, it gives you a new perspective on it.
Yeah, definitely. Because I was taking it for granted, right?
Yeah.
And now like I've been like
and folks in the room here at the Zoom,
what's that?
I'd like to contribute something.
Oh, somebody's here on. Hello, Zoom person.
Hey, hey everyone, Hassan here. I think I don't know who just spoke, but my comment is kind of akin to that, in that I think the darkness that we're talking about, I think it's less about trying to find happiness, and I think for me, I think it's more about appreciating the darkness and understanding that the darkness is required in order to feel happiness. You have to know sorrow and you have to know despair, and so for me, my journey is learning to appreciate and understanding that there will always be strife and struggle, and there's always a balance to euphoria, and so as we go through the challenges of the moment, or whatever the season may be, understanding that that's something that's required in order to just like the nature of the universe and the nature of self, but we have the light, we have the dark, and so they're both constant, and we have to just kind of like navigate through that. So it's learning how to be in a relationship with both, and I'll be content when in both, right?
What do you guys think? Thoughts on that?
He's right. As long as we're embodied, there's suffering to experience.
And each gives a perspective on the other, yeah?
Yeah.
Would you say? Yeah.
I mean, I can recall as a child never experiencing sorrow and experiencing great joy.
You're a lucky kid. Maybe not. I don't know.
And I don't know that everyone who does experience great sorrow experiences even greater joy after they get through that than they had before they went through whatever they did. Some people, their personality, their mind is altered by life experiences, and they never they don't return to the former self. But
That's so true.
they may not experience that level of happiness or joy. I mean, I've seen that. So, I don't know. My perspective is a little different. I think it's a beautiful thing if going through pain or hardship for some people leads to even greater joy. That's wonderful, but I don't know if that is how it always works.
For sure.
It's
For sure. Do you think it has to do with gratefulness at all?
I don't know. I do know that some experiences can chemically alter your makeup and your physiology and your chemistry and your neurology. I don't know if gratefulness alone can undo the impact that certain things can have on you. I don't know.
Sometimes you hear someone say something like, that sounds so impossible and amazing, like, that cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me. Or, something like that, that just, it seems so inconceivable. But of course, not everybody who gets cancer has that experience. Or
The best thing that ever happened to me was breaking my left leg.
And so unpack that for us. What
I
happened?
would never have found this place if I hadn't.
Wow. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. So I feel like it's important for me to say in my perspective here, because I feel like sometimes we talk about, universal truths, but we're not exactly sure universal, you know. And so, in my perspective, like I feel like suffering can deepen joy and can increase, like, you know, happiness. But I feel like happiness and love can also increase happiness. But again, that's just my perspective.
Beautiful. Anybody else have thoughts? Some of you quiet ones?
When you earlier spoke of depth, for me it's more like authenticity. Like the depth for me equals authenticity.
And some people can just be so present in those happy moments or those tiny little joys of, you know, like I remember this Iranian film called The Taste of Cherries. It was just about being present. Or did you ever read Mary Oliver, the poems of Mary Oliver? She's just she's very like infinitely observant to these little tiny bugs and flowers and weeds and, you know, whatever her dog is sounding like today. Just very, very, it's very, I find it to be deeply introspective, you know. Actually, in one of her poems, she says something really beautiful. She says something like, when it's over, let it be said that I was a bride at the altar of amazement. Isn't that really nice? I mean, imagine going through life like that, you know. I am a bride at the altar to amazement. Whereas I think, you know, to me that's kind of the opposite of, yeah, I've been there, I saw that, I did that, you know what I mean? Which I can so often go to that place. Yeah, I did that, I heard that, you know. But to be a bride to amazement, you know, you're walking down the street and you just can be amazed by the crack in the sidewalk or the barber shop or what, you know what I mean?
Who was that? Who wrote that?
Mary Oliver.
Oh, yeah.
She's a beautiful poet. She's no longer living, but yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So I wanted to read you a poem that that I like very much from someone named David White. I believe he's Canadian. I put on my little tumbler. See if this helps.
Thank you so much for this food. It's great.
Of course, I just served it. Everyone else cooked it. Actually, the woman who cooked is not even here tonight. She dropped it off.
Food poisoning, which is so horribly ironic.
Yes.
Blessed are the servers, and blessed are the cooks, and blessed are the eaters. Okay, so listen to this. Listen to this. I really like this, and I think I'm going to say it. Maybe I'll say it twice so that you can really delve into it. He says, I want to write about faith, about the way the moon rises over cold snow night after night. Faithful, even as it fades from fullness, slowly becoming that last curving and impossible sliver of light before the final darkness. But I have no faith myself. I refuse it the smallest entry. Let this then, my small poem, like a new moon, slender and barely open, be the first prayer that opens me to faith. I'm going to say it again. I want to write about faith, about the way the moon rises over cold snow night after night. Faithful, even as it fades from fullness, slowly becoming that last curving and impossible sliver of light before the final darkness. But I have no faith myself. I refuse it the smallest entry. Let this then, my small poem, like a new moon, slender and barely open, be the first prayer that opens me to faith. David White. So we're talking about prayer, and some people, the word prayer kind of triggers some past emotional baggage, like maybe being told to say the rosary so many times growing up as a Catholic, or to chant japa on beads as a child. And so I just wanted to ask you guys, what does the word prayer bring up for you?
Two things simultaneously that are sort of in opposition to each other. So the phrase thoughts and prayers that everyone says on Twitter after a school shooting. And then there's the actual reality that I pray every night. And if I didn't, I don't think I'd be here.
Wow. Beautiful. Thank you.
Sort of an interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah. Like maybe the lip service prayer, or then the heart prayer, right?
Right, yeah.
Right.
It's a good way to sing.
Yeah. What else?
I think if you were to ask me a year ago, it would be sort of the mystical Amazon Prime shopping list that I send up to the divine. Hey, I would really like the patience, or I really want, the promotion, or I really want whatever I want. Can you please give? Because, I grew up in a Christian upbringing, and that was what I was taught prayer was like very much like, all right, give your wish list up to God, and God will answer your prayers, and if he doesn't, then you must not deserve it for some reason. So
wow.
Pray harder, have more faith, whatever. And I had really good fortune about a year ago to take a prayer course led by a Vaishnav named Tamal, and it completely sort of reprogrammed my relation to prayer as just simple communion. And so a prayer to me now is just walking down the sidewalk saying, Krishna, I'm angry, and I'm going to walk until I feel better, and I'm angry about all these things, and this is lay it out, I'm here, but I'm thinking of you, and I want you to know that I'm here, and that I'm trying to be open to you, and to try, all of these things. It's more so a conversation.
Conversation, that's really nice.
Instead
Sometimes
of a wish
he really
list.
likes those R-rated prayers, rather than that one. Actually, I'm thinking of this quote from, who is this? I think it's Martin Buber, this Jewish philosopher Martin Buber. He said something like, sometimes the atheist staring out of his attic window is closer to God than the person in the church who's,
And Kenneth Copeland.
doing his stuff, So what anybody else thoughts on prayer?
It reminds me, when I think of prayer, I think of my grandmother, one of my grandmothers in particular. I've shared this before, but probably with a different set of people. But my mother's mother, one of the biggest lessons that she imprinted on me was that she wanted me to pray every day, and it was.
Is your mom or your grandmother?
My grandmother, my mom's mom, my grandmother. And when she passed, I remember praying every single day, very religiously. It was my homage to her was to do the things that she taught me. And I think I might have been more lax with it before, but then I fall in and out of being every day, for sure. And it is interesting, just to speak to what you said, Ethan, because I still consider myself Christian, and which there's a little complexity with me being here and doing these chants, but my perception of prayer is, I do hear it a lot about asking for things. A lot of people say it's about asking. That's the common way in Christianity. But I don't know if everyone had this little prayer when you were a child, but it's Lord, now I lay me down to sleep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. I mean, that was the one that I feel at least all of my friends, we all kind of knew that prayer. And then he'd say, God bless, and he named everyone you want God to bless, and watch over them. So for me, my first association with prayer was just about caring, just having that relationship with God, talking to him every night, and also just asking for protection, for your family, and blessings for the loved ones that you have. And yes, it is about asking for sure, but like not always for you. A lot of times for like the people you love.
The prayer that you mentioned, somebody was in the Hurricane Helene down in Florida, and she lives in kind of, I think they call it a manufactured house. I don't know if it's exactly the same as a trailer. Maybe it's the same as a trailer. Similar.
It's like a pre-built house.
Yeah, and she
Modular.
lives in one of those, and she went to sleep not knowing if she was going to wake up, and she remembered that prayer from her childhood. She said that, you know, it's really heart-rending. You were going to say something.
Oh no, that's what I've been sitting here thinking about, is that prayer as a child.
Yeah.
And actually, as I think back to that prayer now, it's kind of scary to think about, right? Like as a kid, you're like, if I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. I never thought about it as a kid, but it sounds scary.
That's the only thing I thought.
Okay, so tell us your experience.
Yeah, I mean, I also know that I did not grow up religious at all, but I did know that prayer because, like my friends, my cousins, but I was like, I'm not saying this. Like, I'm not even gonna put that thought into my head or anyone's head. Like, I don't know. Like,
So it was kind of scary.
yeah, and I think like maybe related to that, I had a hard time like. Whenever I would like go to sleep over at someone's house, I always thought something bad was going to happen to my family.
Oh.
So I feel like that might have been like related to that and
wow.
connected to it.
Wow.
They probably wrote that prayer before there were vaccines for kids.
What else? What else? Any other thoughts? Prayer? What does it bring up for you? Scariness, childhood?
I feel like
then?
prayer, like, I feel like it has a lot of different meanings. You know, but one thing I like about prayer is kind of like, it's like aligning with divine consciousness. You know? Kind of like a practice of like, if you're trying to, you know, be like a better person. Because I feel like you can ask for something, but I feel like it's also good to like, go for that. Like, be like, all right, what do I need to do in order to become something that could make that, you know? And with prayer, it's like, I'm aligned with the positive qualities. I'm aligned with like, okay, what positive, you know, like path can I set for myself? You know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And then it happens more. You know.
Okay, so what would you say is the opposite of prayer? Anybody have any
Not
thoughts?
talking about
Whatever I was doing.
Not talking about.
Not talking.
Not talking about.
Holding it in, being afraid.
Yeah, I think like now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like the context is like being afraid to like have the conversation. Like when you say like a prayer like that, or like pray for your family, or other people around you, you're opening it up to the possibility of different things happening, but putting that trust and that faith in that like God will protect, or like know what's gonna happen, and like it will be okay. But like for me, I was like, I'm not even gonna open the conversation for the possibility because I don't trust and I don't have that faith.
So maybe going back to that David White poem, just
Definitely.
a little
that really
opening,
resonated with
a little,
me.
a little slide.
Yeah.
Maybe the opposite of prayer is lack of faith.
Do you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just thinking about, I've been enjoying thinking about how everything is prayer. And we talked about this a little bit, like, what are you worshiping? Like, when you are, you know, thinking about food all the time. I pray, sometimes I worship food. It's true. And, you know, our thoughts, like what we obsess about, if it's work, if it's our relationship, if it's, you know, our job, I never said that. But, you know, whatever it might be, what we find ourselves circulating our thoughts around, it really is manifesting. I believe that it's like, it truly is manifesting not only how we're feeling, the frequency we're on, the people that we're attracting to our lives, and the situations that we keep getting caught up in over and over and over and over again. So I like thinking about that, because then it's like, all right, well, if what I'm doing is a prayer anyways, how I walk, that's something I've been thinking about lately. Like, sometimes I get like anxious and I like wake up and I'm like triggered because I have like emotional flashbacks first thing in the morning, which is like I just wake up and I'm like kind of in a panic. So I just start my day. But I've started a practice of praying every day, and I noticed I was praying like I was like rushing through it, and it's like I'm still worshiping time. I'm still like, I have to go faster, there's not enough time. So I'm like, all right, I can slow down. And that day was a wonderful day. I had a great day.
That's very beautiful.
I prayed really slowly. I was actually connected with God.
That's really beautiful. It's like to wake up in the morning before charging out, to just take a deep breath and just really meditate that I wasn't entitled to another day, but I've been gifted. I've been gifted with this day, so let me use this day in a consciousness of some kind of remembrance.
I was going to say something really similar to her. It was just that, like, God is always listening. Whatever you're thinking about, that's what you're praying.
Yeah.
I think prayer is just the practice of, like what he said, becoming aware of what you're thinking about and then using it to align with positive qualities.
Yeah, very beautiful.
Really
Like
beautiful.
prayer is an up-facing energy,
Right.
and coming from a humble place, and I would say worry is kind of a down energy. Like my son Gauravani, you know my son Gauravani, have you been here for...
That's your son?
Yeah. Have you been here for, what's it called?
Pie in the
Sky in the Sky?
No, it's
First
my first
Saturday.
time.
It's your first time here? No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You brought her? Oh, cool. Well, the first Saturday of every month is Pie in the Sky, and they have different kinds of pie every time.
Oh,
And they have some,
He
here.
actually bakes
I
pies.
didn't know that part.
Have you been
Some
here for
call it
that?
that.
Have you
I
been?
haven't been able to go to a pie in the sky yet.
It's super fun. They have great musicians. Gauravani is one of them, and someone plays sax and someone plays flute, and it's a different kind of conglomerate each time. But so this son of mine was saying to me the other day, to worry. I think this is really wise. He said to worry is to actually worship the problem. Isn't that interesting?
It's true.
Yeah, it's like so worry is like a down energy where I'm worshiping the problem, and so it's interesting, like with the same mind, I can be pulled up through, thank you for this day, or thank you for this food, or thank you for this anything, or I can be pulled down into what if this, what if that, like fear of the future, lamentation of the past, this happened, that happened, if only, if only, if only. You hear yourself saying that, or you have friends who say that, well, if only, or well, what if, But this moment is the reality, and I can offer it up, this moment up on the altar of my heart, Here's a prayer from the Bhakti tradition. Forget the past that sleeps, and ne'er the future dream at all, but act in times that are with thee, and progress thee shall call. So, I was just thinking this transformation of worry into prayer. So, this kirtan that we do here, it's a call and a response. Call and a response. Have you been in a kirtan before?
No.
It's the so these are sacred names of divinity, and it's a call and a response, and it's like an opening of the heart, and it's like an asking for help, healing, forgiveness, a gratitude, a praise, like as you said, a desperation, a longing. I really
It doesn't
love
have to be desperate. You can have a lot of fun with it.
You can have fun with it, but you can have fun with desperation too. Like I think that idea of an R-rated prayer, where it's not just like, la-di-da, but it's really, help. I need help here, that kind of thing. Here's something nice from a Catholic theologian, Thomas Merton, that I really love. He says, my Lord God, I have no idea. I really like this. It's from such a place of humility. He says, I have no idea where I'm going. I do not see the road ahead of me. I cannot know for certain where it will end, nor do I really know myself, And the fact that I think I am following your will does not mean that I am actually doing so. But I believe that the desire to please you does in fact please you. And I hope I have that desire in all that I'm doing. I hope that I will never do anything apart from that desire. And I know that if I do this, you will lead me by the right road, though I may know nothing about it. Therefore, I will trust you always, though I may seem to be lost and in the shadow of death. I will not fear, for you are ever with me, and you will never leave me to face my perils alone. It's nice, huh? I really like it. So so this place is called Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti is a type, yoga means to link up, and Bhakti is defined as a loving responsiveness. So that prayer can link us to a loving responsiveness, an inner prompting to pray, to respond, there's like a super friend traveling with us inside. So to respond to that super friend. And
That's good. I like that, super friend.
there's a super friend who's been traveling with us, and I always say that
Since the beginning of time.
yeah, through all the different, like in this tradition, we believe that there's so many different lives, so I kind of feel like he's a little bit unemployed if we don't call on him. I mean, it's like he's there, but it's like,
Can I add something with that?
Yeah,
last
please,
poem?
please.
Because this was coming up for me, and I feel like that poem kind of actually connected with, and I just wanted to share this also because it might have value for others. But my prayer journey, I think my prayers have been evolved from asking to listening.
Love that.
And so a few years back I would really make my prayer time about hearing what God wants me to hear.
Super nice.
And it was my prayers would sometimes be silent. I would, and I don't know how other people's practices are, but I feel that when I'm on my knees, it just is a different level of connection than if I'm praying in other, postures or just as I'm driving. But prayer, with my hands together on my knees, and so that not knowing where you're going and just wanting to do the will of God and follow the path that God would have you follow is definitely rings true for me. And sometimes that clarity isn't clear.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're I don't know. I tried this, I tried that, I thought this was the thing, but what do you want me to do? Please just tell me. And you can also ask for signs.
What do you guys think of that?
Praying from a place of humility is difficult,
Yeah.
but it really speaks to the depth of your soul.
And
when you do that.
I would argue that that's the first step needed to open access to a connection to God, is to come from a place of total humility, total humbleness, because we're so small and God is so infinite. So who are we to say that we know anything, or that we control or we do anything, because we don't do anything. In our tradition, our soul, our jiva, doesn't have any doing power. It just has the power to desire to do. And it's actually by the will and grace of God that we're able to actually enact and do on the desires that we so want to do. And my prayer sessions sometimes look like sitting, and I like to sit and chant with my harmonium, and it touches me in this deep place. Maybe starts some tears flowing, and then from that place really establishing the crying connection to and with divinity. Or sometimes I have this playlist of over 700 songs that when it enraptures my attention or gives me goosebumps in some way, I hit favorite, I add it into the running list. And then I'll be like, all right, Krishna, what do you have to say to me today? And I'll hit shuffle, and then whatever lyrics pop up, I'll reflect back on them and be like, okay, how is this like influencing, or how is this showing up in my life? Almost like a tarot card.
Like the musical.
Yeah.
tarot.
Exactly.
You guys are
So many
reminding
tarot
me of
cards.
this. Tarot cards are cool. You guys are reminding me of this beautiful story of Mother Teresa, where this kind of snarky reporter was trying to get a little soundbite out of her. She was like 4'10" and tough as nails, and she could like bring down heads of state. She was so tough. But this reporter was saying to her, "So when you pray to God, what do you say?" You know, he just wanted a soundbite. He didn't really want anything deep or introspective. And she said, "Well, mostly I just listen." And then he goes, you know, he's still trying, right? He said, "Oh, and what does God say?" And she said, "He mostly just listens too."
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
And then she said, "And if you don't understand that, I can't explain it to you." So she could just dish it right back. But I mean, I've really been thinking about that a lot because I really want to learn that deep listening. And I want to, like you were just saying, you know, those signs, to observe those signs in nature, or you're walking down the street and somebody says something, like maybe you're pondering, should I take this job? Should I move to Kansas? Should I do this? You know, and then somebody says to you something, or some sign in nature, or just that active, deep listening that can really kind of activate our hearts. Yeah. So I know we're running out of time, but I wanted to share one more poem. This is from the Bhakti tradition. This is from the woman poet Mirabai from the 17th century. And she says, "To be born in a human body is rare. Don't throw away the reward of your past good deeds. Life passes in an instant. The leaf doesn't go back to the branch. The ocean of rebirth sweeps up all beings hard, pulls them into its cold running, fierce, implacable currents. Giridhara, which is a name for God, a name for Krishna. Your name is the raft, the one safe passage over. Take me quickly." And then she says, "All the awake ones travel with Mira," that's the name of the poet, singing the name. She says with them, "Get up, stop sleeping. The days of a life are short." Nice, huh? So what do you think? We have to wrap it up. Yeah, thank you. We have to wrap it up, but any final thoughts or takeaways, or what was important for you, or any thoughts or questions or reflections or anything?
I think it's important to double back to the moon poem.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think something that really struck me about the moon poem is this sense of faith. That when I enter into a space of prayer and I open myself to a divine connection, that there's faith that that divine connection will descend and connect with myself. And it always wants to, but it only responds if we want to ourselves.
Right, and like maybe faith growing each day, like that little curve of a moon that looks just like a fingernail.
Because we have faith that the moon is going to come back after a new moon, that it's going to come back to a full moon, and then it'll go back to the new moon. Like, we have faith in these cycles of the moon. We have faith the sun is going to rise tomorrow. We have faith, I mean, like, I know we pray this, like, if I die before I wake, pray my soul to take, but we have faith that we're going to wake up tomorrow, right? We can't do anything in this world without faith that it's going to happen.
That's why I like that pause in the morning that I did wake up.
Yeah.
So now, please show me how to use this day in remembrance and in gratitude. Any other thoughts before we pack it up?
Faith too.
What's that?
Breath is faith.
Yeah. Well, that's a gift, right? To have to be able to have a breath. You're reminding me of this beautiful thing I heard, or painful thing I heard during COVID, that this woman, I think she was from Portugal, and she said her father was a billionaire, and he died of COVID. And she said that his billions of dollars sitting in the bank could not buy him the one thing that was free for everyone, breath. The one thing that would have saved his life, but his millions of dollars couldn't have bought that.
Antarctica state.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
We have something more valuable than $1 billion.
Yeah. Each moment, each breath. Yeah. What $1 billion can't buy back a moment that maybe I didn't use with gratitude or wisdom or
Yeah, I think that ties into the last poem, which rang like really loud for me, which was like, in that aspect of this tradition also I think is a powerful one, because it's about like the idea that, you know, we come into this form, we come into being as a human, and that's a gift, you know, in this, you know, lifetime. Like our soul is out there just like wishing to come back, you know, and to exist, especially in this form, and how fleeting time is, and to not squander it.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you all so much. This was really beautiful.
Not really thing to say. I feel like a lot of times, like especially with like the heavy action that's required in society, it's like we could feel like we have to do so much to create compassion and to live the right way. But you know, I feel like I was practicing those Thich Nhat Hanh meditations, where you just like literally just like let everything be itself. And sometimes I found like that's just as effective as like consciously creating compassion.
Because it's so conscious. It's like you know, his walking meditation. It's about being very conscious of each moment as a gift. Yeah, beautiful. Well, this was really rewarding for me. It's really